A sick man goes to several doctors, all of whom can't seem to figure out what's wrong with him. So he decides to go to a PvP healer. He asks the healer if she thinks he'll be okay. The healer replies, "I don't think so. Mercury is in Uranus." The man says, "I don't believe in all that astrology stuff." The healer replies, "Neither do I. I just broke my thermometer." Alright, we're back again for some more Oakenbro action. This time in the form of a PvP healer playing as a Templar. This setup is specifically meant for solo play in Cyrodiil PvP, so you can quickly hop in and out of gameplay as your schedule allows, and you can kind of feel like you're helping your faction out without being too sweaty in a super organized session. I like to jump in with this character on a busy weekend when I only have like an hour or two of free time, or if I'm just feeling like I'd rather take a support role to keep my blood pressure in check. So I'm rocking a Khajiit here, but you could also do this on an Argonian or a Breton if you'd like. A Breton would probably be the absolute best, but I'm in Catgirl mode today, so here we are. We're going for a tankier than usual setup since we're going to be running around solo in PvP, so we're going to put 45 attribute points into health, and then just the rest into magicka. Setting it up like this will work out in our favor in the long run since we're going to also be focusing on sustain, so we can stay in the fight for as long as possible, rather than throwing down some heals and getting one shot like you would if you fully went into magicka attribute points with all light gear. Our Mundustone is going to be the ritual so we can buff up our heals, and then our food can just be Witch Mother's Potent Brew, but if you're a top G and can afford a lavish lifestyle, then go ahead and use Clockwork Citrus Fillet to be fully optimized for maximum sweatiness. For our gear sets, we're going to be using Kagranak's Hope along with Wretched Vitality. I'll give some alternatives in a little bit if you'd prefer something else, and as always, don't be afraid to experiment and don't be afraid to start playing with some less than fully upgraded gear. All of my gear is purple here, and my jewelry pieces aren't even up to purple quite yet, so it's totally fine. It's a casual build, and you can always save up resources to get everything upgraded to your liking later on, especially if you decide that you want to keep the character. Kagranak's Hope can be crafted in any weight at the Earthforge, which you will unlock when you finish the Fighters Guild quest line. You can also buy these pieces from guild traders if you don't want to make it yourself. And if you're in a guild with a more fleshed out guild house, you can always craft it at one of their workstations. This set gives us some extra magicka and health, some magicka recovery, increases our spell damage, which by proxy increases our heals, and also decreases the time that it takes to resurrect an ally by 25%, giving us some magicka back when we do so, which really starts to make a difference when we pair this with the champion ability called Spirit Mastery. We're going to wear this set on our head, hands, pants, belt, and feet. Craft these in heavy for your pants and feet. Go ahead and make 3 of the pieces in the well-fitted style so we can have slightly cheaper dodge rolls and sprint costs. I've gone ahead and done this on my hands, belt, and head pieces. You can also consider doing 1 piece in the divine style to get a little extra healing. So I've done that on my shoes. And then we'll go reinforced on the larger piece, which would be the pants, for some extra armor. Our other set is going to be Wretched Vitality. This one is a straight up sustain set and can be crafted in any weight. If you have access to the Deadlands DLC, you can craft this there or just have someone make it for you or buy it from the guild trader. This set will give us some extra magicka and stamina recovery, a little bit of spell damage, and then give us even more recovery buffs when we apply major and minor buffs and debuffs. You'll want to wear this set on your chest in the reinforced style. I've gone with a heavy piece for my chest for the maximum armor values, and then an infused ring and an infused necklace. Both of these being with glyphs of spell damage to further buff up our heals, and we'll obviously be running a resto staff here, so go ahead and make this in the powered trait with a life drain enchantment. The overarching idea here is to proc the larger buff from Wretched Vitality by channeling heavy attacks with the Essence Drain passive that we get from the resto staff skill line. This will give us Major Mending, which increases our heals, and then with the gear set will also give us a nice chunk of magicka and stamina recovery. At the same time, one of our healing skills will proc the smaller buff by providing us with a minor buff. And all of this is meant to keep your resources high so you can keep healing and running around without having to worry too much about running out of magicka to cast spells or stamina to sprint with. Our Mythic, as usual, is going to be the Oaken Soul Ring, also infused with a Tri-Enchantment for some extra sustain. You could go with spell damage here if you want more heals. You could make the ring in the Swift style for a speed boost. You could go all in with Healthy and Health Recovery, or Arcane and Magicka Recovery. But in my case, I like to run this guy with a Tri-Enchantment just to keep everything simple and help me out across the board. And then our last piece is going to be a Monster Shoulder, in this case Sentinel, for a little bit of extra healing. If you don't have access to Sentinel, you could use Magma Incarnate or Chokethorn or something like that for some extra recovery. We'll want to wear a heavy reinforced shoulder for a bit of more tankiness, and since I failed to mention it yet, we'll want max Magicka glyphs on all of our armor pieces. This makes up for some of the attribute points we placed into health earlier on. So a few alternative gear sets among many others that would definitely work in a PvP setting would be Rallying Cry from Cyrodiil, which gives you some critical chance, some max Magicka, and also increases your group's damage when you critically heal them. This would be a go-to set for a healer that's playing in a group setting. It probably wouldn't work very well if you're playing solo like we are here, so if you're a group person, I would highly recommend you using that set. You could run Hitti's Hearth from the Ice Reach dungeon, which buffs up your Magicka recovery, max Magicka, and grants you with an aura that heals and reduces the cost of core abilities of your group. Spell Power Cure is a no-brainer alternative set. This one is from the White Gold Tower dungeon and gives you some extra max Magicka, some spell damage, and also grants your allies major courage when you overheal them, increasing their damage output. Hollowfang Thirst from the Moongrave Fane dungeon would work here as well. This one gives you critical chance, max Magicka, and also spawns a ball of hemoglobin that explodes and restores Magicka and gives minor vitality. Healing Mage from the Etherean Archive trial could work here too. This set also gives you max Magicka, some recovery, adds to your healing output, and debuffs enemies with minor cowardice when you use an area of effect heal. And one more set for good measure would be the Robes of Transmutation from Cyrodiil. This one gives you Magicka recovery, critical chance, and grants allies with extra critical resistance. So, moving on over to our champion points. You want to get Gifted Rider, War Mount, and Steed's Blessing on your craft bar for the maximum mount speed in open world PvP, and then whatever else you want for your last ability, Rationer just being a personal favorite. Be sure to get the Soul Reservoir passive in this section as well so you can save on some soul gems when reviving players. In the blue section, we're going to take Soothing Tide, Rejuvenator, Focused Mending, and then either Hope Infusion or Cleansing Revival. So the first three are going to buff up all of our heals, while Hope Infusion gives people that we are healing a buff to their ultimate generation, whereas Cleansing Revival removes negative status effects to allies we heal under 25% of their max health. Each have their pros and cons, so you can decide if you like one better than the other, and swap stuff around depending on your solo or group status. And then over in the red section, we're going to take Boundless Vitality, Celerity, Rejuvenation, and Spirit Mastery. If you find yourself dying too frequently, you can also swap in Fortified in place of Celerity, but I really like having a bit of extra movement speed when running around and healing people. And a quick note on passives, be sure to get everything from your Racials and Resto Staff. You'll want Burning Light and Balanced Warrior from the Adric Spear section. Everything from Dawn's Wrath and Restoring Light. Be sure to get the Light and Heavy Armor passives, and then anything you want from the Guilds, Crafting, and Alliance War. Being sure to unlock everything from Alliance War as you level those skill lines up. The support skill line has yet another passive called Battle Resurrection that reduces the time that it takes to revive someone. So we'll basically be able to run around and pull people up with no problems in record time. Finally, moving over to our skill bar, we're going to slot in Propelling Shield to support our team in siege situations, and then Living Dark as a survivability tool, Hasty Prayer as a burst heal that works on ourselves as well as our team, and this also procs Minor Expedition to help us run around faster, which also happens to proc that smaller buff from Wretched Vitality that we talked about earlier. We'll use Echoing Vigor as a big heal over time, and then we'll be using Radiating Regeneration as another group heal over time. For our ultimate, we're going to be using Practiced Incantation to throw down some major heals when our group finds themselves in a pickle. You can always swap this out for Reviving Barrier or the Resto Staff ultimate depending on the situation. And if you're someone that stays far away from siege, you can get rid of Propelling Shield in place of something else like Energy Orb. Play around with your skills and see what works best for you, but if you're running Kagnornak's Hope, be sure to keep in mind the fact that you'll need something that procs a minor buff or debuff so you can fully benefit from using the set. Our rotation isn't really much of a rotation per se. Just be sure to keep your bubbles up around your siege area to protect yourself and your team, as well as your personal bubble to further protect yourself. Just channel heavy attacks to keep major mending active, while using your heal over time and burst heal abilities to keep your alliance team members topped up. Don't be afraid to revive people, because it doesn't take very long for us to do so, and keep your ultimate in mind when it looks like people are going to go down in your area. Here's some quick clips from a short session that I ran to get a little montage of the build in action, and thanks for watching as always. Until next time.